Hi, guys. Welcome back to another episode of A Case for the FBI, Cross-Examining Reality. I'm Cassie,
And I'm Kristen.
and we are so excited for two things.
Mhm.
One being that this is our first video podcast. We're very excited about that. We're going to be editing the video, putting it on Spotify. We're going to put it on our YouTube channel. So we'll share about that too. So you guys can check that out if you don't use Spotify. And we're dabbling with the idea of putting some clips on TikTok. Maybe me and Kristen will start doing some trends.
What the TikTokers be saying?
I don't know. We're going to have to catch up with the actual.
Yeah, I gotta start working on my dances. Maybe we should do the savage dance like 3 years late.
Actually, it really would be hilarious if we did something that like was OG TikTok and people are like, y'all are old.
Yeah, like pandemic era TikTok.
Oh my gosh.
We should make that coffee that everyone made during the pandemic.
Oh, the whipped coffee.
Yes, whipped coffee.
And make banana bread.
Yes.
Let's bring back quarantine.
Those were the days, man.
Honestly, it was fun for a couple of weeks, but then it was like, I think I want to die.
Right. But it was just nice to have an excuse to not leave your house.
Exactly. We were all looking for a real reason and we finally had it. And then we realized, this is too much time not leaving my house.
Right. I mean, after a few weeks, it's like,
Social interaction. I understand why that's a necessity for humans now.
Right. So anyways, I'm so excited to get our videos up and going on all these different platforms. And you guys can see our beautiful faces and how we put like a lot of effort into our appearance every time we record because we're so professional. So like, we have that dress well, test well mentality.
Exactly. And all of the really cool equipment that I use that doesn't plug into my computer.
Oh man. Yeah, I should probably get a better lighting situation. We'll fix that. So I apologize.
Yeah, this ring light was like $16.
Wow.
Yeah, on Amazon, but you gotta have a USB port for it to work. So I guess I'll be buying a couple of adapters. Thanks, Mac.
For real.
Apple.
Yeah, let us know how much those adapters cost, by the way.
Fucking Steve Jobs. He's still ruining lives. But anyway, the second thing that we are excited about is America's Next Top Grandma.
Woohoo!
I ran with Kristen and her Tyra Banks impersonation last week as we were talking about how America no longer has a grandma. And we seriously put time and thought into our options. So we will each be presenting two options of who we think should be America's next top grandma. And then on Thursday, we are going to put a poll up. And next week, we will be revealing America's next top grandma.
The anticipation. It's going to kill me.
I know. Honestly, though, we have some really good options. So I'm very excited. So I'll do my top choice. Kristen will do her top choice. And then we'll each present our second choice.
Okay.
So my first choice
is... I feel like I'm in court.
Okay. All rise for the Honorable Judge Cassandra Roberts.
Your Honor.
Your Honor, I would like to state my case for Miss Julie Andrews.
Oh, it's a good one.
Yes, it is. And here are my points to support Julie Andrews as America's Next Top Grandma. First and foremost being the fact that she has in fact played a grandma on The Princess Diaries. Was she the best grandma? She sure was.
She's very elegant.
Yes, but also very conscious of her granddaughter's feelings, very supportive and encouraging, and open-minded as well. She was very open-minded to like eating the corn dog in the first one and, sliding down the stairs on a mattress.
Right.
I thought that
she's fun.
Exactly. I would want her to be my grandma.
And so also, I mean, I understand that I need to make making my case, but just to be a good friend and help you out with your case too,
Thank
I
you.
feel like since Julie Andrews, like you said, she's already the queen of Genovia, she's already a
Exactly.
grandmother. I feel like she would just fit in to fill that void that Queen Elizabeth left behind. So it won't be that big of a change for us.
Yes. And I feel like she also brings the fun element, the quirky element that Miss Betty White brought. Now, my
Mm-hmm.
second point for Miss Julie, you don't even have to have seen The Sound of Music to know that that bitch is iconic for her role in Sound of Music.
Correct.
I rest my case. I rest my case.
Just listen to one Sound of Music song. That's all it
Exactly.
takes.
The hills are alive, honey, and they are alive with the reverberations of Julie Andrews' beautiful angelic voice.
Love it. Your Honor, I would like to make my case
I'm
for
ready.
what I don't even know why this is a case, honestly, because there is no question that this woman is she's all of our grandmothers basically, and so I don't understand why we need to put on this charade. And that woman is the one, the only, the inimitable Miss Dolly Parton.
Oh, yes. Such a good one.
Okay, our unproblematic queen.
Yes.
Miss, I'm going to donate $1 million to Moderna to get the COVID vaccine so y'all can get out and get partying again. Queen shit.
Yes, indeed.
Miss, I'm just going to give out free books all the time because y'all need to read more.
Exactly.
But like in a nice way though. It's not like, oh my God, like read a book. It's like, oh my gosh, reading is so fun. Like, here, let me give you all these books, children. I like that vibe. I like that. You know, it's not judgy. And
Mhm.
we're not judging her for her double D's on her tiny little body. You know, that's
Nope.
just part of who she is. And the thing is, she's had such a long career too.
Mhm.
We know she's wise. We
Mhm.
know she's a woman of her word. She's never switched up.
That's true.
She never let Dollywood change her.
That's
No,
right.
ma'am. She is true to
Mm-mm.
her roots.
Yep.
We know exactly what we're getting into. And I feel like she would just be a perfect fit for America's next top grandma.
You know what? Again, like you said earlier with Julie Andrews, because let's be honest, me and Kristen love all of the options. Okay. We're just
Yes.
setting it up. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Dolly Parton, also, what I love about her is that literally like, her hair is a wig. Her makeup
Yeah.
is a whole facade. Like,
Mm-hmm.
her and nobody knows who her husband is. Like, they literally go out in public and nobody recognizes them because she looks completely different. I love that about her.
Mm-hmm. A woman who can do both.
Exactly. And she found a way to keep her personal and her work life separate and still be a good person, been married for a very long time. I agree. I think she's a great candidate too.
Right. And I feel like that she, you know, she's not all about the glitz and the glamour. She knows when to turn it on and to have that big hair and
Hmm.
that full face. But then she also knows when to turn it off and to just be a loving wife,
Yep.
a
I
loving
feel like
grandmother.
the fact that she has earned the respect of the paparazzi and all of those like sneaky little TMZ people that have never, ever, ever caught her somehow
Mm-hmm.
without her full get up, like
Mm-hmm.
that is true respect.
Thank you, Aretha. May
Yes.
she rest in peace.
May she rest in peace. Otherwise, she probably would have been in this.
She would have still been in the running, but
Exactly. So,
would you like to present your next candidate?
yes, thank you for presenting Dolly. I think you did a really great job.
Thank you.
My next subject is Miss Lily Tomlin, and I think that she could be a great candidate for America's Next Top Grandma because, first of all, she looks just like someone you just want to cut up and have a good time with. She looks like the type of grandma that would feed you ice cream and then send you home to your parents.
Mm,
That's the vibes I get from her.
I
She's
like that kind of grandma.
aggressive, she's open-minded, but she's not pushy about it. I think she has her opinions and she makes it known and she's strong and true to her word, but would never
Mhm.
dislike someone because they disagree with her. And I like that about Lily. Also, Grace and Frankie, if you haven't watched that show, you're missing out. Her and
Yes.
her and Jane Fonda are an excellent duo. And her career too, is she's been famous for so long.
Yes.
And I think much like Miss Dolly Parton, she has not switched up. She has not been problematic. She has
Mm-hmm.
not caused a lot of drama in the Hollywood scene.
Right. And I feel like you said, she's had such a long career. She knows what the deal is. She knows how to not get canceled and how to be a good person.
Yep.
And that
Been
is hard to
there,
find
done
these
that.
days.
Yep. She's ready to teach us what to do and what not to do.
And I will say, I feel like Lily Tomlin is a dark horse in this race
Yes.
here. I'm going to watch out for her because I feel like she's going to be a sneaky favorite and someone that people will be like, oh, yeah, like you've heard of Julie Andrews, you've heard of Dolly Parton.
Exactly.
Lily Tomlin, you may not think of and be like, oh, wait, yeah, like she is a great grandma.
Exactly. You're like, damn,
Mm,
I would want my grandma to smoke weed with me.
right. It's like, we had Betty White and the Golden Girls. I feel like Lily Tomlin is a more like modern age Golden
Yes.
Girls with Grace and Frankie.
Yes. That is a great point, Kristen. That is,
Thank you.
yes, that's a great point. I agree.
It's not as quite stuffy, we should say, as Golden Girls. Sorry, that show was on 50 years ago. But yes, Grace.
Progressive for its time.
Yes. Give credit where it is due. Yes, correct.
All right. Well, I'm ready to hear about your last option. Save the best for last.
Last, but most certainly not least.
Mm-mm.
No, best for last for sure.
Yes.
I am here today in this Zoom meeting to make the case for the queen, the supreme,
yes,
Miss Diana Ross.
And let me tell you, I was looking at pictures of her today. That girl has not aged one bit.
She looks beautiful.
I literally thought that I was like, there's like, these pictures have to be from 30 years ago.
She is kind of one of those celebrities where like she'll kind of like come out of hiding every now and then and we'll be like, oh yeah, Diana Ross, wow, yeah, she looks good, but she's not like in our face all the time like some older celebrities are.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that Diana Ross has going for her that I know we talked about Julie Andrews singing before, Diana Ross,
it's a whole different ball game.
A whole different ball game. A whole different. I mean, she is Motown. It's just, if you listen to her music, it's just hit after hit after hit.
Yep.
The woman knows how to make a hit. She knows what she's doing. She's timeless. She's someone who I feel like we could all really look up to.
Yes.
Especially like just this talent that she has and the way that she uses it. I feel like we could just all look up to that. And also, like, it's about time in this country that we have a Black grandma.
True that. True.
I don't know why we don't have a figure like that yet. I mean, I'm assuming Michelle Obama in like 20 years she'll be, definitely in the running for ANTG. But yeah, I really feel like Diana Ross is someone who would fit in nicely and just is very likable. Her music is amazing.
Yep. I feel like she would really lay on, like, she would give you advice and it would be just like one sentence and you would just feel like your whole life changed.
I could definitely see that. Like, she would just say, like, when you know, you know.
And it's like, you're just like, whoa.
Grandma Diana, that is just,
I've never thought of that before.
It's just, but that wisdom and that advice is coming from a good place.
Exactly.
And it's real.
Y'all, this is going to be a tough competition.
Photo finish.
Oh my gosh. I really am honestly so excited to see what the results are.
We should like hand count the votes like they do in political elections when it's like
everyone please reach for your mail-in ballots that we have shipped to your house. No funny business.
And you need to return them to us like now.
Yeah. So as soon as you get it, send it back.
So we can like count them all on time.
First class mail.
But I am very excited. I feel like this is gonna be very telling for our listeners who they decide, who their favorite is.
Exactly. And
Mm-hmm.
I also, if anyone feels, passionately enough, love to hear comments on, why you voted for who you did, or
Yeah.
what your thoughts are on the other contestants that you did not vote for. That would be very interesting to hear as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe you're not like Cassie and you don't want to smoke weed with your grandma. You're like, I like Lily Tomlin, no, like she should be in jail. That's not my opinion. That's, hypothetical listener's opinion.
Yes.
You could let us know that, and then Cassie will fight you and tell you that weed should be legalized,
Yeah, exactly.
and we'll
I'll
move on.
find your address. Me and Lily Tomlin will show up and beat you up.
Throw weed plants at your face.
This is how we finally get Lily Tomlin on the podcast.
Is that we have someone saying that she should be incarcerated.
She would probably be like, oh, I already have.
True. She's like, oh my gosh, I can't think of her name right now. Who is the celebrity who like goes to climate marches all the time and gets arrested?
I have no idea.
Why can I not think of her name right now? I can't. It'll come to me later. Don't worry about it. But she'll like go to women's marches and she'll get arrested, or if she doesn't get arrested, then she'll like bail out all the other people who do get arrested. I can't think of it. So this point is going nowhere. But anyways.
Well, we will have the results for you next week, everyone. Looking forward to it.
Tune in next Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. Or no.
5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I had to do the math in my head. I was like, okay, if Central is 1.
Yeah, it takes a minute. You good. Welcome back to A Case for the FBI. So this week, we haven't done true crime in a few weeks, I feel like, so this was a nice little treat that we got to mix in some true crime, even though it wasn't your classic whodunit mystery true crime kind of deal. This was I Just Killed My Dad on Netflix. I don't really know where to begin with this one. I guess I'll just start off with like my feelings towards it. First of all, I loved it. I loved the storytelling. I loved the way like it was one of those shows where it's like episode 1 and you're like, okay, this guy killed his dad.
Right. Like what else do you have to tell me?
How are you going to fill 3 episodes with this? Exactly. And they just keep like unraveling stuff to the point where I honestly thought that the ending was like a little rushed when then they were like, oh yeah, he has probation. And like now, yeah, he goes away to live life. Like, I don't know. It was very emotional. Like when he went back to meet his mom and his grandma and everything, but I felt like the ending was a little rushed. Like it was like anticlimactic.
Yeah, I agree. And it was sad. So what I did like though that they did at the end was like the juxtaposition of him like earlier on when they asked him the same question that they asked him at the end. So the last question they asked him was like, how do you live a normal life after this or something? And so the first time they asked him, like he couldn't even answer. He was so emotional, like he was crying. And then you see him like after everything has kind of like happened and everything. And he's like, I'm just going to keep moving forward and hope for the best. Like he had a very optimistic outlook. So I did like the way that they did that, but I agree. It was just kind of like, okay, and now he's free and he feels good and bye.
Right, exactly. I'm like, this man needs intense therapy. This man needs to like, he can't live on his own right now. Like he probably can't get a job.
Right.
Like you can't just like, release him into the wild. Like he needs help, which I'm assuming he's like, I'm hoping he would get. And that's what I kind of thought when he went to his mom's house. I was like, oh, that's nice. Like maybe he's going to live with his mom now. But it was just like a little meet and greet situation.
Now, let's talk about the real villain of this entire series.
Okay.
The stepmom.
What was her name? Susan?
I don't know. Yes, I think her name was Susan. And look, I understand she was abused as well. I get it. And we're not supposed to blame the victim. But this son of a gun, I mean, she knew that this man was not only abusing his son verbally and physically and emotionally, but also her son, calling him fat and throwing shit at him.
The Jenga box.
I'm just sitting here like, what is wrong with this woman? It had to get to the point where the son called his biological father and was like, I can't take this anymore. Like, he's picking me up and we're leaving. Like,
Yeah.
I understand she was also a victim, but my God.
I didn't really have those feelings towards her. I mean, I felt sympathy for her, but not in a crazy way, the way I felt sympathy for Anthony. And so I feel like for her, what really sucks, like, yeah, obviously that sucks that she just like didn't do anything at all to help Anthony.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, there was no record of his abuse. And like apparently, like she did not, like the cops would come and she would deny it. And
He
to be
would,
fair, Anthony also denied it too. But yeah, when she ran away, like you couldn't call the cops and be like, hey, go get this child.
exactly. And she was like, if I would have taken Anthony, I would be dead. I had no choice. I'm like, you had a choice.
Yeah.
You had a choice. I know that Bert was a psychopath and had y'all locked down in every capacity, but ma'am, you and Anthony could have hopped on a bus. Y'all could have left your cell phones. You could have gone straight to the police. You could have done a million other things other than leaving this poor kid in this house with his dad.
I mean, it's just such a terrible situation. Such a terrible situation. And then also like everything is so unfortunate with his mom, Teresa, trying to find
Mhm.
him and she just like didn't. I mean, obviously it seems like she tried,
Yeah.
but like to no avail, obviously. So literally Anthony had like no one in his corner, like no one helping him. And he didn't go to school, so he didn't have school counselors. And like that's one of the things that one of the interviewers said that like is a big part of like going to public school is that, you know, you have people there who are trained to see these signs and he had none of that.
Yeah. And it was just like so sad hearing Susan talk about how she finally like was kind of at least talking to Bert about putting Anthony in school, but he was like 15 or 16, would have to go into the third grade.
Yeah. Yeah.
And showing like his writings where she made him write the alphabet every day and his name and an
Yeah.
address. And she asked him what his address was, and he gave her the zip code. And
Yeah.
ugh,
This really reminds me. I'm promise I won't go on a tangent because I could, but I won't. You're welcome. Do you, oh God, what were their names? Oh, I can't think of their names, but it was the family that had like 12 or 13 children and they
the
were all locked in the house
yes, crap. I just watched a
for
60
like,
Minutes on that not that long
yeah,
ago.
I can't think of their names, but yeah, they were all locked in the house. And then finally, it was basically like an Anthony situation, but worse.
Yeah.
Like these kids like lived in poverty in this house.
Yes.
God, the Turpins.
Yes, the Turpins.
The
Yep.
Turpins, that's their name. Yes,
And the
Turpins.
daughter escaped and got help.
Yeah,
Yes.
one of the daughters escaped and had like a contraband cell phone or something. But that reminds me of this whole situation reminds me of that because when the cop went to go pick up the daughter who ran away from the Turpins, he was like, "What's your address?" And she's like, "What?"
Yeah,
Like,
I don't
what's
know.
that? And then he also asked something about like prescription drugs and she like didn't know what prescription drugs were. So then it becomes this whole thing that like, you know, the parents are obviously locked up forever, but now there are these 13 kids that like they can't go on their own, like even though some of
Mhm.
them are adults, like
Yeah.
they can't, like you got
Yeah.
to do something.
And I mean, even with Anthony, I feel like people thought he was like even more suspicious because he couldn't answer some simple questions. They were like, "What's your address?" And he's like, "Oh, I don't know."
Yeah.
there was something else they asked him that was like, what was his birthday?
Yeah, what
And he was
what
like,
year? He was like 2001 or 2002.
yeah, it was something like that. And I'm like, damn, you don't even know when he was born.
Which obviously, if I were the detective, I would be so sus of if
Yeah, I
someone
mean,
didn't, or
like
I'd be like, either you're lying or you're high or something combo. Who knows?
all the above.
I'm really surprised that you have such strong feelings towards Susan, because I really don't feel any type of way towards her. I mean, and also like also going back to when she ran away, also poor Anthony had to deal with the fallout from that, and his dad
Exactly.
turning into an alcoholic
Oh my
and like
God.
taking out all of his anger on him.
Yeah, and even when they like showed up to get the furniture and stuff, like Anthony was obviously freaking out because his dad is like literally unhinged and knows that
Mhm.
she's there and is on the way and like doesn't do anything about it. She just like gets her furniture and leaves. Like,
Right.
you know that he is about to fuck up this kid. Like, you know exactly what is about to happen.
Right. Right. And I find it hard to believe too that like at that point they really just had no faith in the justice system. Like that's what they kept saying, was that like Anthony didn't
Yeah.
have any, which I like Anthony as the true victim. I can
Yes.
understand why he also probably didn't know what to do because he just
Exactly.
didn't. Also, can we talk about how when he got arrested, he was like, yeah, I thought they would just like keep me in jail for a day or so and then let me go.
Yeah, that just shows like how out of
They
touch with
He said
reality.
that before they set the whole stage about like him not going to school and stuff, and I was like, what, like are you like delusional, like what's wrong with you? But
Yeah.
then obviously he just didn't know that like when you kill people it's a big deal.
Yeah. I feel like they definitely did a really good job of setting you up in the beginning to be like, is this guy just that dumb? Like he just like doesn't like is he just being stupid to like try and get out of it? Or like
Right.
what is happening? Because I mean he even called the cops on himself.
Right, yeah,
He was
yeah.
like, I just killed my dad.
I'm like, what do now?
Yeah, he's like, do you need me to stay on the phone? Like the lady's like, yes, I need you to stay on the phone.
God, oh my God. Oh my God. Okay. So I guess let's go ahead and talk about then like how we feel about like his guilt or innocence. Like, do we think he should have been convicted? If so, with what? What are your thoughts about the whole situation? Like, what would you do if you were a juror?
Okay. I feel like it ended up the way that it should have. When they did that mock trial, I definitely understood why it was a case that would be very difficult. Like everyone said, they were like, Bert is a terrible person. Anthony, I feel so bad for him, but he killed him. Like he killed him. Like there's no if, ands, or buts about it. But I do think, what they ended up sentencing him with was reasonable. He was on probation for what was it, like 10, 15, 20 years. I don't remember how long it was.
It
But
wasn't that long, honestly.
yeah,
It wasn't
but I
bad.
mean, I do feel like it was reasonable because I mean, I'm surprised he made it as long as he did without hurting his dad. Um, I feel like I would have been, I don't know what I would have done in that situation, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of one of those situations where I feel like it's almost like a catch 22 because it's like, yeah, he is a murderer,
Right.
but he was provoked.
Right. And like one of the people made the point where it's like he literally did not know what else to do. Like he
Right.
had literally not, he didn't know what else to do. He had no other options. And in that moment, like all he could do was like fight or flight. And that's just what happened.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people were like hung up on like, oh, well, there was no bruising, there was like no physical, and it's like, yeah, but he's seen his dad like not this bad and do a lot of really bad things. So he's like, I have never seen my dad this unhinged. So
Mhm.
I literally am fearful that he is going to kill me.
Yeah. Yeah. Wait, so going back to Susan really quick, now that I'm
Mhm.
thinking about it, I did not like it when she posted her restraining order on nextdoor.com.
I mean,
instead of like going to law enforcement and being like, I have a restraining order against this guy for reasons A, B, and C. And also he still has his son living in that house.
Exactly. Like,
So
what is the point? Like, what was the point? This man just went about his business and was still torturing his son and just walking around the neighborhood. And yeah, people were probably giving him funny looks, but like it didn't do anything. Like, how petty.
yeah, yeah.
And look,
Putting
I
on
am petty Betty.
nextdoor.com.
Exactly. I am petty Betty to the core. But that's a line that should not be crossed. Like, that's not it.
Yeah, I don't understand. Like, I mean, I guess obviously to like draw attention to him, but like then that only made him more angry towards Anthony, and she should have known that. And
Yep.
obviously things turned out the way that it did.
Yep.
Anyways, going back to the actual trial, I did think it was interesting that they had a whole like fake trial.
I didn't know
Like,
that was a thing.
I didn't know it was a thing either, but it like made total sense that they like just got these random people and they could actually see like how a group of randoms would feel about the case. You
Yeah.
know, like what they were lacking and stuff. So that was really interesting to see. How did you feel about the lawyer?
Oh my gosh. We've already talked about the villain. Let's talk about the hero. I mean, that man did everything he could to
Yeah.
help Anthony. And I thought that his story was just like, it- I hate to say inspirational because like it's not like it's inspiring me to go be a lawyer or something, but it was
It
heartwarming.
inspired him.
Exactly. Like, so if you haven't watched it, he basically talks about how when he was growing up, he was raised by a bunch of hippies. His dad basically dips out, right?
Yeah.
And his mom was like taking him to like coke dens and parties and like having her friends over to their house at all hours of the night doing drugs. And he was just raised around drug addicts and alcoholics and
Yeah.
partying and all of those sort of things. So he just, realized he was like, oh, I want to be able to help people. And he became a lawyer and he did this whole thing for Anthony. Like, I'm sure a mob trial is something that's probably not very cheap to put together.
I literally was having those exact thoughts when I was watching it because he's doing it pro bono, so he's not
Yes,
getting
that was
paid.
the point.
And I
Yes.
was like, how much did they have to pay like each of these people for their time to be fake
Yeah,
jurors? And also like they like had a courtroom. It was a whole thing. And I
exactly.
was like, that is probably really expensive. But like
Yes,
something as a defendant, you would be really excited to see your lawyer do and like want them to
exactly.
do.
Yeah. I thought that was insane and like very nice of him.
Yeah. Yeah. I obviously the lawyer is the hero. And when I mean Anthony is so emotionally stunted at this point, he like doesn't really know how to show any feelings or anything. And when the lawyer starts crying at the end and Anthony is just like hugging him and is like,
Like,
okay.
he's like, yeah, that's cool.
That was a very interesting moment, but that just like basically encapsulates like the whole documentary. I did think though that like the lawyer was just like a little bit too self-centered, honestly.
Yeah.
Like he talked about himself a lot and he was like, that's what I do. That's why I'm such a good trial lawyer. And like it was really intense. And I was like, okay, dude. Like when I'm in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and I need a trial lawyer, I know who to call.
Exactly. I'll certainly call you up.
He was, I don't know, but obviously, I mean, I guess he has a lot to be proud of, but he was just like putting in everybody's face, like, I'm such a good lawyer. I'm doing this pro bono because I'm so good.
I work in Baton Rouge because that's where all the bad stuff happens.
Yeah, and we had to like go on a tour of his neighborhood, and he was like, "Yeah, it was really rough out here." And I'm like, "Is this documentary about you or
Yeah,
Anthony?"
wait a minute. You didn't kill your dad too, did you?
It kind of reminded me. Did you ever watch the second part of Making a Murderer
Yes.
with the woman lawyer who like rides around in the back of the Cadillac? And she's like, I'm so important, but I'm going to make time for Stephen Avery. I actually hired a driver so I can work while I'm in the car.
Because this is such an important case to me.
She was kind of OD. But,
Oh,
anyways,
God, making a murderer. Whew.
I know it's bringing back. So, have you heard all this stuff going on about Serial, the
No.
podcast?
No.
Do you know what that is?
I've never heard of that. No.
So it's Serial, like a
Uh,
serial killer. It's called
uh,
Serial. And it is podcast by NPR that came out like legit like 5 or 6 years ago. But it was a story about this guy whose girlfriend was murdered, and he basically was like wrongfully convicted. And so the NPR team like did this whole investigation into it, and like it found all this stuff that basically pointed to his innocence. Well, literally yesterday they were able to get him out. He's like freed from jail. And
what?
and this murder happened in like the mid 90s. Like
Oh
he's been in
my
jail for over
God.
20 years.
Oh, they owe him some reparations or whatever they give people who are
Yeah.
wrongfully convicted.
Exactly. Yeah. So thinking about that, like it was a huge thing when like the podcast was out, and then they made an HBO documentary about it too.
Oh, okay.
Or maybe it was like a fictional thing. It was based on Serial that's on HBO. It had me thinking about making a murderer.
Oh, they need to go do that one because I still don't believe either of them did it. I need to know who did it. I need to know.
The police don't want us to know who did it.
Exactly.
I kind of got Brendan Dassey vibes
Oh my God,
from.
yes, 100%. The low IQ,
Yeah,
the
but like he can't help
emotional,
it,
exactly, the
you
emotional
know?
capacity of a peanut, like all of it. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, well, obviously like Bert took advantage of him, but like thankfully this wasn't a situation where like I mean, Anthony was victorious, honestly, in this situation, whereas Brendan Dassey, like, they took advantage of his uh
Low IQ.
lower intelligence. Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
what are your hopes for Anthony's future?
I mean, I hope he can just figure it out. I feel like it's going to be so hard for him to like have a life after this.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's not really a lot of opportunity for people after they get out of jail, prison, even if honestly, I feel like even if you're not convicted, I feel like there's probably still a lot of issues trying to get a job, even with like something like that looming over your head.
Absolutely.
I hope he gets a better relationship with his mom and his grandma.
Yeah.
Hope he spends more time with them. I hope he's eventually able to like this is gonna sound so cheesy. I feel like I'm on a Hallmark movie, but I hope he's able to like, fall in love and have kids and do everything differently than his dad did and
Yeah.
maybe work out some of those things by being able to do that for himself.
Yeah. Like he literally needs to find himself, like who he is
Yeah.
in real life. And like what you were talking about earlier when they were like, what is normal like for you? He just says like, I want to be happy. So it's
Yeah.
like he has to find out like what that means to
Mhm.
him, like what is happy. Of course it sucks because like you said, like he's gonna have all these obstacles in his way. But I feel like it was kind of like weird when he went to his mom's house in the documentary, and the grandma was like, I'm 84, so I may never see you again. So remember me. And it's like,
I know. I was
where you
like,
going, Granny?
damn, people are living to be 100, girl. Like, simmer down.
Yeah. And also, y'all live like right, like one state away from each other.
Yeah.
It's not
And
that
like
bad.
also he's not tied, well, maybe with probation, he is tied to the state that he lives in. But y'all can go visit him.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like probably in that moment, like Anthony was probably just like overwhelmed and was like, what is going on? But I feel like as time goes on, like he'll realize how important that relationship is with his mother. And especially
Yeah.
too, like he was recalling stuff when he was there. He would be like, oh, I remember that, and talk about Natasha, the other
Mhm.
sister, and stuff. So, I mean, it's sad just because like his sense of family has been so destroyed,
Mhm.
but now it's like you have a nice mom and
Yeah.
like grandma and all that. So,
So I guess maybe providing some context to that situation. Basically, Bert and his mom got into an argument because he was beating the crap out of her too and treating her awful and terrible and kidnapped Anthony and ran away to Louisiana. And the mom found him and got custody of Anthony, took him back to Texas, I think.
Yeah.
But because states, for whatever reason, don't communicate with each other for whatever reason,
Looking at you,
um,
Ted Bundy.
literally, he was able to file these fake reports that like his mom was crazy and abusive and did drugs and yada yada yada, and gain custody of Anthony back. And she was never able to find them after that. So basically, through the law, he kidnapped his own son.
Yeah, for real.
And I mean, they had like wanted posters, like they were like, Can you please help us find my son?" Like all of these different things. And because Texas and Louisiana are different states, they never communicated about the two different trials. And it did
Right.
not come out until he killed his dad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wild.
I wish that he just like hurt his dad, not killed him, so we could like see the conviction of Bert and like see his terrible life.
Yeah, and I would like to hear from Bert. I would like to know, like, what's up, dude? Like, why are you so
What's your problem?
exactly what stick is up your ass and why is it there?
Who hurt you?
Exactly. That's what we need to know. Who hurt you?
I mean, without a doubt, it is probably an understatement. It seemed like there was just a whole lot of dysfunction that went on, and that like it was with the mom, and then the grandma starts talking about how her parents were alcoholics in like the
Yeah.
early 1900s. It's
Mhm.
like this is, which is just sad because I mean, it kind of like points to a cycle of it.
Yep.
Um,
Especially them being in like lower income rural areas.
yeah,
Um, and then just like to the level though that like Bert basically stalked them. Like he had it down to like he had cameras everywhere except in his own bedroom, probably because that's where he wanted to beat the crap out of his wife. Um, and he literally would even know like when they shut off their car engines and he had their phones tracked. Like there was literally nothing these people could do where he did not know exactly where they were and what they were doing.
I've never even heard of such a thing, like having
Right?
something where it will tell you when someone's car engine turns off.
Yes, and you would
That
see
is
him
next
on
level.
camera walk out to the car and escort her into the house as soon as the car cut off. It was so weird.
Yeah. Uh, the control, the absolute just like need for control is astounding.
Yeah, unnecessary. Like I can't comprehend it. Like I can't. It's like I've seen people in documentaries similar to this where they're like controlling or like OCD or whatever, but like
Mm,
literally this man was going to levels of extremes that we never even knew were
yeah.
possible.
And we still never got a good answer of why he just never put Anthony in school.
Yeah, I
Like
mean,
we just,
Anthony did say, and I was like, correct. He did say in one of his interviews, like, isn't it easier to control a dumb person than a smart person?
mm, I see. Okay. So
So
it's
it's
like,
easier to keep him in his place and manipulate him if he didn't know much about anything.
right, which it is now very evident to us, seeing as he didn't know that he would like have to go to jail if he killed somebody. Like,
Exactly, exactly. And I mean, it really is true. Like, even with that, it's like he was probably like, I don't know how to do anything without my dad. I don't know how to
yeah,
drive a car. I don't know how to buy food. I don't know how to make money. So,
yeah,
like, if I don't have my dad, what am I supposed to do?
yeah. I mean, he said he literally had never left the house by himself before.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So what did you think of like the production value in terms of like all of the interviews and the little like actor portrayals that they had and everything?
Yeah, I liked it overall. I thought it was really good. I felt like they had the perfect amount of interviews. Like, I didn't feel like
Okay.
it was too much information or too many people I had to keep up with. And I felt like everything flowed really well with the 3 episodes.
I think so too. See, I disagree though. I think that there were too many interviews.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like it got kind of confusing, especially with like, I don't know if it was like Susan's family, but like someone's brother kept
Yeah,
being interviewed,
Susan's
or
brother.
Or
with the
Teresa's.
2 Shih Tzus.
Yes, exactly. Which I mean, I guess he provided like some interesting information, but I was like, who is this guy again? And it was just like in the like the caseworkers and stuff. It almost was like a little bit too much for me.
Okay.
I don't know. I just wanted more Anthony, you know?
I do not disagree with that. He was not as prevalent. Maybe just simply because he seems hard to pull information out of. So
Yeah.
they had to work with what they could get.
Right. Yeah. It obviously like this just happened basically. And I can understand that it is just like so painfully traumatic that you just don't even want to talk about it
Yeah, if he
ever
even
to
has the
anyone.
capacity at this point to
Right.
understand and talk about it.
I did notice though that when he went to go visit his mom
Uh-huh.
in Texas, he had his ears pierced. I was like,
Oh,
that's fun. That's a fun little decision you made.
okay, you did that on your own, honey. I love
Yeah,
it.
I don't know. Maybe he like got it in jail or something. I don't know. I don't know if they do that in jail. If they do ear piercings. I
I
know.
mean, maybe. I think they give each other tattoos.
Yeah, that's what like I don't people
How right are we right now?
about not knowing about prison.
Yeah, we're like, do they pierce their ears in jail?
I mean it's just amazing. Like they make like toilet bowl moonshine or whatever. Like people will sneak cigarettes into jail somehow. Like people in jail are so crafty.
I know we were watching some like Lifetime Gangland thing, and it was about the Aryan Brotherhood, and they
Oh god.
literally used this like wild like code language where it's like A means B and B means A, and like I don't know, some fucking philosopher like Copernicus or somebody came up
Mm.
with it, and they fish it through the toilets.
Oh my god.
Yes. I'm just sitting here like, okay, these people are somehow dumb because they ended up in jail, but they are
Mhm.
actually geniuses.
So they like if two cells are next to each other, they would like send it through the toilet that way.
Yeah, or it's like it's like there's certain toilets that if you send it down the pipe, it goes to a certain other toilet. Like they just
Okay.
know how the things interwork, and they like
Jail
send it
plumbing.
like through like pantyhose or like sheets so that you can like hold it while it goes down the toilet so it doesn't get lost.
What in the world?
I know. I know. We underestimate the people in the prison system, okay?
Well, I'm not gonna say that the Aryan Brotherhood. I'm not gonna compliment the
We're
Aryan
not
Brotherhood.
standing the Aryan Brotherhood. No, no,
No,
no.
but someone like the guy from Serial who was wrongfully convicted, stan him.
Yes, exactly. This is not a stand for the Aryan Brotherhood. I was just simply saying that that was very smart.
That one instance.
Yeah, exactly. Let me clear that one up real quick.
So is back to Making a Murderer? Is Stephen Avery still in prison right now?
I think so. I think
Holy
so. I don't think
crap.
he ever got out.
Oh man. I really need to rewatch that.
I know that's how I feel now that we've talked about it. I'm like, that sounds like such a good time right now.
Maybe we'll rewatch.
Ooh.
That would be spicy and fun.
I know it would take me back to the Copper Beach days. That's when I watched
Yes.
it.
Oh, love. All right. So is there anything else that you want to add on I Just Killed My Dad?
No, ma'am.
Alrighty, cool. Well, I really enjoyed it. I hope y'all enjoyed watching it as well. So for next week, we are gonna keep with the Netflix train. We're going to keep with, I think it's true crime, and that is Sins of Our Mother on Netflix. I've heard good things about it. I heard it's crazy. I'm excited. I don't really know entirely what it's about, so
Yeah,
this will be very interesting.
I have absolutely no idea. And sometimes I just love going into it with absolutely no idea.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I just killed my dad. I was just like, well, this kid killed his
He killed
dad.
his dad.
There's
Exactly.
got to be something crazy about it.
They give the whole plot away in the title. It's got to be good.
Exactly. So if you are not following us on Instagram, first of all, what are you doing? Second of all, you can follow us at a case the number 4 the FBI. Keep an eye out for America's Next Top Grandma. Your vote counts.
Every vote counts.
We need every vote. So please chime in on that. And then also look out for our YouTube and TikTok, because
Yep.
that will be coming. And so if y'all start consuming that content, let us know what you think. If you enjoy it, if you're like a super video podcast person, this is your time.
Time to shine. Yes, but any feedback is obviously great. We're hoping to kind of keep the same schedule with YouTube as the podcast.
Mhm.
We're gonna see how that goes though, but that is the plan.
Yes, I have a good feeling about it.
Yes,
Everything
and
we
our
do is
YouTube
great.
channel is also just the name of the podcast, A Case for the FBI, Cross-Examining Reality, if you want to check it out.
Beautiful. Yes. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
All right. So this is episode 31. Thank you all for listening. We really appreciate it. And we will see you all next Wednesday for Sins of Our Mother. Very excited. So talk to you guys then.
Bye.
Bye.